and welcome to a new session of our SCIEF Talks, our space to discuss on Islamic finance. And today we're going to take a journey across the globe and see how Islamic finance are behaving thanks to our guest today, Natalia Jiménez. She's a doctor on law and economics, and she's the author of our new socioeconomic report, who talks about the expansion of Islamic finance across the globe and opportunities in Europe and Spain. So welcome, Natalia, and thank you very much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I am glad to be here with you today, Jose Maria, and after several months working in this note, I am happy to discuss about the results.
Finally, yeah?
Yes.
Because it's not so easy to find information on Islamic finance in the...
Yes, but we have reached, I think, nice conclusions that can give us an idea about the general situation, and we can talk about it
Excellent.
Today.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so let's jump to the subject. And you've been analyzing different regions and Islamic finance globally, and I would like you to let us know, like, what are the geographic regions that you have seen that have more growth, more importance, and more expansion these days?
Okay, if we have a global vision, we can see that both in terms of volume and geographically, there is growth of Islamic finance in the world. But when we look in detail, we cannot really talk about global implementation, but several local advancements. And so, in first place, as traditionally in the last years, GCC region. GCC region hosts more than 50%. I think it's, let me check, 53.6% of total global assets. In 2022, all financial sectors did grow in the region, even though there was an economic slowdown globally. Of course, the rise of oil prices helped to this growth. Then in second place, we can talk about Southeast Asia. They host more than 23% of total global assets. In 2022, it's true that in Islamic funds there was a decrease, but the rest of sectors did grow also in 2022. And the research of tourism and industry, yes. We can expect that Islamic finance will play a role in this economic enhancement. And I would like to talk in third place about a specific country, is Pakistan. Because in Pakistan, we are seeing that many conventional banks are turning into full-fledged Islamic banks. So this could mean that in not many years, most of the banking systems in Pakistan will be Islamic system. So these are the regions, I would say, where the Islamic finances are gaining systemic importance.
Interesting. Yeah. And if we're looking, I mean, we're talking about Islamic finance in general, but it's quite a broad subject. So if we are talking about different sectors or segments in the Islamic finance industry, where do you see more growth? I mean, is it growing evenly, or what are the aspects that you think are growing more?
Okay. Islamic banking is the segment that still retains the more importance. More than 70%, I think it's about 72% of total assets are Islamic banking. Mainly, I mean, in other regions also, but mainly in the regions we just mentioned, GCC, Southeast Asia, Pakistan, etc. It's true that in these countries, Islamic banking is very specific. It doesn't grow in spontaneous generation. In these countries, they are supporting this with public policies and strategic plans. But also we can see that sukuk are growing. in the last decade, actually, sukuk did grow in double digit.
Wow.
In most years. It's true that in 2022 it was 7%, the growth, but again, oil prices are in the game because GCC did not have financing needs, so there were less sukuk, corporate sukuk, sovereign sukuk. And there is a third sector that is gaining importance, is what is called like other Islamic financial institutions.
So that will be like fintech or
exactly
what kind of
fintech and other financing services that are not included in funds, sukuk or banking. This sector is very interesting. It's a very flexible sector because it's not submitted to the very restrictive regulations of banking, funds, etc. This allows like small companies, startups, to offer financial services adapted also to microfinances, families, etc. So we can expect in this sector there will be an important growth in the coming years, also because it's where fintech are.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
included.
fintech in general, that regulation is not as strict as with traditional banking and financial services, so it makes sense that it grows in the Islamic field as well.
Yes. Actually, Islamic fintech is expected to grow more than 17% in the coming years, annually.
That's very interesting.
So it's.
Okay, so we've been talking about the main Islamic markets that, of course, are related to Islamic countries as well, countries with high Muslim population like the GCC countries and Southeast Asia countries like Indonesia, Malaysia. But let's take a look into Europe as well. Like I would like to know if you have seen something moving in Europe. What is the current situation in the Western countries?
Well, I think it's interesting when we talk about Europe to look back a little bit. So I think Islamic finance became attractive, and we paid a lot of attention to them in 2008 with the crisis, looking for alternatives, etc. And many expectations were built around it. Great Britain, United Kingdom, and France even institutionally and openly said they wanted to become hubs of Islamic finances. They even arranged the regulations to avoid, remove certain taxes that were obstacles for the implementation of Islamic finance. But it's true that these expectations 15 years later have not been met. The interest in those days was to attract investors from other countries, mainly GCC, but also to fulfill a demand, expecting that Muslim population in Europe would demand Sharia
So also the internal demand of each country.
Exactly.
Yeah?
The Muslim population in Europe was expected to demand Sharia-compliant financial products, but expectations have not been met. Islamic banking is stagnated. It's working. There are 5 full-fledged Islamic banks in the United Kingdom. There are banks in other countries. But it's true that in terms of volume, it's marginal. In the United Kingdom, it's less than 1%. It's actually 0.1% of total.
And even that United Kingdom is probably the highest Islamic finance market in Europe, right?
Exactly. So, but we have to understand also that Islamic banking system in Europe has to deal with a system that is built around conventional banking rules. So they are submitted to central banks and strict regulations that are not made for this specific way of doing finance. And also there is something I think it's interesting. We have to understand that in the last decade, interest rates in conventional banks were very low in Europe. So maybe the interest for alternatives has not been very important, and this could change in the coming years.
Definitely. I mean, with the current scenario of high interest rates in Europe, maybe
Yes.
there is a change on that.
There could be a change also because the Islamic banks are changing and they are in a process of the digitization, which could really serve more younger demand, new services. So there is this evolution. Of course, we have to talk about other things because maybe Islamic banking is like the most pessimistic sector, but Islamic funds are working in United Kingdom, in Luxembourg, of course, in Ireland also, in Sukuk. In 2021, United Kingdom launched a sovereign Sukuk also. So things have been happening. Even in Spain, we have now Takaful insurance offer. But it's true that in terms of volume is still marginal. That's the reality today.
Yeah. I mean, regulation in Europe is strict, and we have seen over a few attempts to modify it, but there is not such a big pull on demand. So in the end, I think things are moving slow, especially in Spain.
Yes.
But so the situation, it's a bit stagnant. But there's any room for being optimistic, or there's any silver lining, any prospects of what's lying ahead on Islamic finance in Europe, in your opinion? Yes.
If we go back to what we were saying before about Islamic fintech, that is a trend that is interesting for all the reasons we said. We have these very strict regulations in Europe, and Islamic fintech is not going to be under all these strict regulations. So many things are going on. In general, Islamic fintech is growing. In Europe, we can see already many initiatives that are taking form in offered, as I said, in Takaful, but also even retirement plans are organized in United Kingdom through Islamic fintech. So I think this is really a trend in which we could see a growth in Europe in the coming years.
Oh, nice.
And it's not the only one, because also there is. Of course, we know today ESG is the trend in general, not in Islamic finances, but in finances in general.
Absolutely.
Yes, and this is very interesting. There are many convergent points between ESG and Islamic finances. There is this social purpose. They both want to avoid harm, and this makes. I believe in, and also the experts believe, that sometimes to achieve ESG objectives, Islamic financial products might be more adapted than conventional financial products. And this could be interesting to attract to Islamic products non-Muslim population, because we can have Islamic funds climate change oriented, or things like that could attract population in Europe in general.
Yes. There is a lot of popularity these days on what they call the green sukuk, that are investing on energy projects or on projects that have like a component on sustainability. So
Yes, exactly. Even actually Islamic Development Bank has the objective to have about, let me think about that, I think it's about 35% of their total investment in climate-oriented projects. So
that's impressive.
Really a trend in Islamic finance to grow according to ESG objectives. And
nice. So we're saying fintech, ESG, and any other fields where you see opportunities?
Yes, but maybe not in Europe, but concerning Europe, because for European companies, there is an opportunity if they know and manage Islamic finance. For the reasons we were talking at the beginning, Islamic finance are gaining systemic weight and importance in GCC countries, in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, it's a growing region, so opportunities, economical opportunities are there. But in GCC, with the diversification of their economies, there are many projects that could be interesting for European companies. But to operate in those markets, it will be necessary to coordinate the projects with Islamic finance, to adapt them to Islamic finance, but also sometimes to use them to finance their projects.
Of course, yeah.
So the companies that want to operate in those markets should know and manage these projects.
And these markets actually, they are experiencing their own economic growth these days. I mean, like you were saying, with oil prices, they are becoming more and more attractive. We have seen how many large projects are taking place in GCC countries, especially in Saudi Arabia, and many of those are including on their financing Islamic finance. So,
yeah, exactly. So this can be an opportunity, but companies have to use Islamic finances, or at least know them and manage them, to take profit of these opportunities.
Yes, I agree, and it's something they need to understand, and that's
exactly.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, like
yes,
there's a lot of information and data that we haven't mentioned here, but I don't want to be pulling from your memory so many numbers.
Okay.
But it's really, so it's promising. I think we have an optimistic, at some point, overview on opportunities for European countries to develop, especially looking at the global scale, right, rather than in their own inner demand. So,
exactly. I think we have to admit that the expectations have not been met, but that there are other opportunities that could be useful for Europe, and that could also open doors to Islamic finances in Europe.
Good. Well, thank you very much. I need to give a second read to like in depth of all the report, and I would like to ask the people that are following us and are listening to us to do the same. We have the report published in English and in Spanish in our website, in the SCIEF.es, SCIEF.es, and you can download it there. And also, if you want to learn a bit more about Islamic finance, as Natalia is saying, like, it's important to have a bit of knowledge if you want to address businesses in those countries. It can be useful. You have plenty of information in our website, some resources, and here you can see a quick overview on what's the situation of Islamic finance across the globe. For us, I think we are done for today. Thank you very much for taking time on preparing this report, and thank you for joining us today here, Natalia. It's been really a pleasure.
My pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I've been learning a lot, and I hope we can continue working about Islamic finances, and that the future in Europe will be optimistic as we expect.
Thank you. And for everyone following us, thank you again for staying there, and stay tuned for more sessions of our SCIEF Talks. Thank you. Goodbye.